welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keenan's going again, the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and don't do something silly, stupid, or dumb, I've given Lakina full power to give you full spiel and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, just use your handheld device, your iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your personal PC. Just hit up the Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Live and on demand, anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we will provide. Of course, we got a busy show coming up here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got our we'll recap Bears and Vikings, yippee. The rest of the NFL Week 6 slate, including our studs and duds. Some interesting upsets that came about yesterday and last night. Well, some close games. Also, too, of course, same thing in college football. They're already in Week 7. LCS, the Rangers took Game 1 to ALCS, and LCS starts today. And old school TV Monday, sort of very poignant with the tribute that happened yesterday, and also too we have a number one in the college hoops men's on the men's side preseason poll. But first,
now Bajan quickly out to the left to Moody. Moody able to get the sideline. Second down at 6. Bajan will try to throw it. And he's able to get the first down. There is DJ Moore right on cue.
Makes him so dangerous.
This time Bajan looking for him again. Can he hold on to that? My goodness, he did. Bajan so far 6 for 9 in his NFL debut. Now 7 for 10. First down, first and goal for Chicago.
To be able to replace with another guy to cover.
Trying to bounce it outside, straight ahead. And stopped by Bajan on a stake. No signal. They uncover the bodies and they say touchdown.
How are you with Bajan now going? You had a nice chemistry with Justin Fields, but now do you have a chemistry with Bajan, or is that something you got to develop on quick, fast, in a hurry?
Got to be quick, fast, and hurry. We got to play football. He's a baller, as you can see. So just got to get over for him and just be who I am, and then the rest of the receivers be who they are.
DJ, if it is Tyson going forward for X amount of weeks, what's your role in making sure he's up to speed?
Just being available and open like I've been, and just egging him on and just giving him that encouragement that he's playing this season.
All right, that was our own Sean Superback Sierra talking to DJ Moore. Of course, that highlight is from Fox, who had the game yesterday, and with a cameo by the guy to DJ's right, our buddy Mike Berman from NBC Chicago.
But in front of the show.
Yes, and for the show, we gotta get him back on soon. Absolutely. 1914, the final. Oh, yeah, was it 1914? Shoot, yeah, 1913. I should say the final. I'll be honest. Like I said, like I was talking to Sid before. I didn't watch like the first half of this game, but judging by the tweets, I could tell that okay, pretty much expected from 2-1-4 teams, so not really a big shock there. Of course, Justin Fields, got injured midway through the third, right at the beginning of the third quarter with the thumb injury. They're saying it's dislocated, although nothing's been official yet. They doing an MRI as we speak. Um, you know, Tyson Bagent, came on, showed a little bit of promise in that first drive, as you guys saw in the clips. But of course, he had a sack and scoop and score. And Sid, what do you think? Because to me, this kind of went exactly as I expected. The Bears had 10 days off to prepare for this game. They seem to not really have a plan, and to Minnesota's credit, that they got to, Justin early, Fields was sacked 3 times. It was just a mess all around. So what do you think? Because I know you probably didn't watch this game no more than I did.
I mistakenly watched the Bears game, parts of it live via NFL Red Zone yesterday, so I'm mad at myself for that. But I wasn't that upset as far as watching some of that live. One encouraging thing I will say about that Bears game yesterday is that they can run the ball efficiently. I know Khalil Herbert's out. I know that we have a couple other guys. Roshan Johnson, he's out as well. But you have to give Darrington Evans, the rookie, credit. He ran the ball hard yesterday for 32 yards for 9 carries. Deontay Foreman did his thing for 65 yards, rushing off of 15 carries. That was the one thing I was encouraged by. But the couple of things I was discouraged by: one, Justin Fields holding the ball too damn long. And number 2, their scoring drives were field goals, Lakina. You got to turn those field goals into 6 points. And after that performance 11 days ago now against Washington, this team has gone backwards, and that's something that I don't like. Now, on the flip side, the defense actually stepped up yesterday. Tremaine Edmonds had an interception. They sacked Kirk Cousins, I believe, 3 times. And you figure, okay, it's not the 85 Bears, but it's a respectable defense. So the defense showed up for the second week in a row. But I got to put the partial blame on Justin Fields for holding the ball too damn long. We talked about it a million times on the show. But that coaching staff gets the most of the blame for me, especially in that first half. Those drives that ended up in field goals should have been touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, and look, this is exactly what I figured that was going to happen. I mean, like I said, I didn't see like the first half, but I saw the highlights, and I can kind of see why Minnesota got the lead as early as they did, because of the fact that they weren't moving the ball very well. Field was sacked 4 times. There was a whole lot of miscommunication going on with some of the offense, and the O-line just couldn't get it going. Like Cody Whitehair, I think what did he forget how to play center or something? Like what the heck happened there? And it's one of those things where it's, to their credit, to Minnesota's credit. I mean, look, I guess a lot of people picked the Bears because Minnesota's been pretty inconsistent this year. Kirk Cousins, he didn't throw an interception, so I guess that's a bright side. The run game for Minnesota, it was pretty decent. Alexander Madsen had only rushed for 44 yards. There was a lot of receiving yards. T.J. Hawkinson, KJ Osborne. It was one of those days where it was really their defense. Their defense was the one that kind of got it going here. Jordan Hicks, like I said, that scoop and score was the backbreaker. And for me, I think that the inconsistency of this Bears team. Remember, Matt Flus is now 0-8 in the division. They have not won a home game in almost a year. I'm talking about the Bears. So it's just like, what? It's the same old. Like I said, like the Bears are kind of like look, we got a little bit of flashes from TJ Edwards, and Sam Moore looked okay. Justin Jones was pretty solid as well, but Edmonds, got a much needed sack, but it's just like I just didn't. Whatever, I didn't care.
You listen to the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition. We're live in living color. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you, discussing the Chicago Bears 19-13 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears dropped their record to 1-5 the season, while Minnesota improves their record to 2-4. Let's not forget, too, for the Vikings, that they were missing their star wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. And Addison, their rookie wide receiver, he stepped up yesterday. He scored a late touchdown to pull ahead for the Vikings away from the Bears. Lakina, also, too, if you notice, after that injury to the thumb of Justin Fields, when Tyson Bagent got in the game, you know as well as I do, Lakina, Chicago Bears fans, whether it's during our time growing up or now, the backup quarterback is always popular. And I'm sure that's his agent calling us right now to give him some deals. But Tyson Bagent came in that game yesterday and gave the Bears a spark. Now, as Lakina said, Tyson Bagent did look like a rookie quarterback. No, the Minnesota Vikings didn't have game tape on him. That's why he looked good. Until you have game tape on you, you're going to surprise some folks. But give Tyson Bagent credit. It looks like their coaching staff actually had a game plan for him, and the Bears started to move the ball down the field. But when it mattered most, Tyson Bagent showed himself as a rookie, throwing that interception after the 2-minute warning. And Lakina, just like way back in the day, just like now, if you're a rookie quarterback coming into the game, if you're a defense on the other side, you blitz them every first and third down. That's what the Minnesota Vikings eventually did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think Page is realizing that he's not facing, second and third or fourth string guys or guys trying to make the team. These are like, Danielle Hunter is actually a pretty solid defensive linebacker. Of course, Jordan Hicks has made some, good plays this season for Minnesota. So, you're facing a better competition, and I think that showed. And like you said, Sid, I mean, look, we've known this for years. I mean, we've seen it in various eras and various, coaching eras. Unfortunately, the backup quarterback, ask Josh McCown, ask Brian Greasy, ask
Peter Todd Willis, Moses Moreno, Jim Miller, Shane Matthews, Mike Tomczak, Steve Fuller.
Among many others.
Vince Evans.
Oh Lord, now I'm going on a Wayback Machine with that one, Sid. Chad Hutchinson. I mean, but I mean, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, unfortunately, we're seeing, and I heard this morning on some of the various on both the ESPN Chicago and on 670 The Score. There were crowds that were saying, well, look, get Bagent a shot. Even if Justin's going to be okay. Okay, guys. Okay, stop. It's just the whole thing is just very silly. And I know some people were. I heard Chris Canty on ESPN Radio. I think this was early this morning. He co-hosts the morning show. He said that why doesn't the Bears trade Fields? I mean, well, for one, you're not. Whoever you trade the Fields, trade Fields to, they're gonna want one of those top 5 draft picks from the Bears. So, you're not gonna be able to get too much from him. Of course, Fields being a former top 10 QB. So for me, I think this is all kind of twofold. I mean, look, we all thought that this was going to be the easy part of the scheduling. Well, you lose to Denver. I know the Commanders are probably saying to themselves, how the heck did we lose to them their last Thursday, a couple Thursdays back? And then now you beat a Minnesota team where you're pretty much even with. Now you're facing a Raiders team that, they haven't been great, but they've been okay. They got a big win yesterday. And you're facing a pretty solid defense too, Max Crosby. So good luck with that. But I mean, at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. Like the Bears, whatever.
Yeah, if there's any good news in the sort of silver lining here, Justin Fields' thumb, the X-rays were negative, but we'll find out how long he's going to be out, if he's going to be out, because if you heard yesterday, he couldn't grip the ball, and which is very important on a throwing hand, which you throw the ball, obviously. So, and that's why he did not re-enter the game yesterday. So I don't know how many weeks he's going to be out. Like, if we have that news before we check out here in the next 90 minutes or so, we'll pass that along. But beyond the assumption, if you're a Bears fan, I know some of you want it because you want that number 1 pick that you have from Carolina to go get Caleb Williams. We'll get to Caleb Williams in top of next hour, but Caleb Williams is not the answer here, Lakina. Assume Tyson Bagent is going to be your star for the next few weeks, but this is my main point. I'll wrap it up with this. Let's just say you did get Caleb Williams. If this same coaching staff is here or there's a new coaching staff, can you guarantee me that he's going to be the savior? Really? Yeah. Really? I'm with you. That's why I didn't listen to a whole lot of stuff yesterday and this morning, because many of you, not all of you, but many of you Bears fans are silly. Oh, draft Caleb Williams. He's going to be the savior. Oh, he's going to turn over a new leaf. Really? Really? I don't get it.
Well, look, as somebody, a friend of mine said on Twitter, he said that me Bears fans, I should say Bears fans, that are going to be insufferable for the next week. Say, hey, look, let's get rid of the Fields so we get Beige and no, stop it. And yes, we will talk about that about your Houston Texans, Brandon. Don't worry, we got them. Got them there. Yes, they got another win. So so look, if you guys got thoughts on the Bears Vikings game, what the Bears should do, what they shouldn't do. Where's Vernon? Where's Vernon at? I mean, where's he at? But of course, we're gonna take a really quick break, and we'll talk the rest of the NFL week 6 slate, and no more undefeated. Though, of course, although some would say there's questionable on one, and one game that got a little too close. That probably should not have been close, but we'll talk. We'll dive into that.
Controversy.
Yes, and also, of course, studs and duds, and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports, on Sports of Chicago. The rest of the slate coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, brother. Brother, we're trying to warm things up here in a very fall-like day here in Chicago. Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X at Keenan again, the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We have less than 85 minutes left or so of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments regarding the Bears or the rest of the NFL action, from week number 6 from yesterday. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's talk about the rest of the NFL Week 6 slate. We'll start in London first as Baltimore beat Tennessee 24-16. Lamar Jackson threw for 223 yards and a touchdown, but also he had an interception. Ryan Tannehill on the flip side only threw for 76 yards and a TD because he got hurt. So there really hasn't been any update on that. Of course, Malik Willis came in, but really wasn't that much better. And 6 field goals from Justin Tucker. So if you guys had him on your fantasy team, you got a really nice showing from him yesterday. And of course, Lamar Jackson as well, even though, again, not the prettiest offensive performances. I mean, there were a lot of drops. So, that's kind of, odd in that one, but they did, the 6 field goals is actually the most by any team since the 2020 Panthers, who kicked like 5 in week 3 against the Chargers. So, again, they scored just enough points to win, but you got to think that offense, though, that offense has some really big issues, Sid.
Yeah, we talked about the running game for the Baltimore Ravens. They need to have some healthy bodies and they need to get that running game going. Like you said, Lamar Jackson actually saved them yesterday. I did watch a lot of that game. Mark Andrews, they forgot about him in the first half, but he came alive in that second half with 4 catches for 69 yards. On the flip side for the Titans, Derrick Henry had 97 yards and a rushing touchdown. But Lakina, as I said before, and I'll say it again about the Titans, Ryan Tannehill, we may question him at times. We question him a lot, but that Titans team needs him offensively if they're going to go anywhere. You can't put everything on Derrick Henry's shoulders. And Derrick Henry had a couple of nice long runs yesterday, but once they got down to the red zone outside that long touchdown in the third quarter, they struggled to – they did just like the Bears did yesterday. They settled for field goals instead of being aggressive and scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, they fall at 2 and 4, and I wonder. You wonder if Mike Vrabel's on the hot seat there, but we'll see if they can kind of figure things out. And let's go to Atlanta, I should say, for a second, Sid. 24-16, the Commanders bouncing back from that loss to the Bears. They beat the Falcons, and Sam Howell had 151 yards and 3 TDs. But he was sacked 5 times, so the Atlanta defense did get it going. But unfortunately, their offense, couldn't, not so much. Desmond Ridder threw for 307 yards and 2 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions. So this was definitely one of those games where I kind of kept in the background. But to Washington's credit, they did just enough to win this game.
Yeah, the Commanders' defense, especially their front four, was aggressive yesterday, and their secondary stepped up as well. As you mentioned, they picked off Desmond Ridder 3 times. Tyler Aguilar was the man for the Atlanta Falcons with 51 yards rushing. You didn't hear much from Bijan Robinson yesterday. Drake London had his best overall game of the season for the Falcons. Their second-year wide receiver, 9 receptions for 125 yards. But it was the Commanders' defense that was the difference yesterday in shutting down Atlanta Falcons in the second half, only to 6 points. But like I said, Sam Howell didn't look too bad yesterday. I think this is the formula that we're going to see for the Commanders from here on out. They're 3-3 right now, and as so many people may go back now to say that the Commanders could be one of those surprising teams moving forward to challenge for a playoff spot. Right now, they played like it yesterday, minus what happened against the Bears a couple weeks ago. But the Commanders, I think this is their formula for the rest of the year. We'll see what happens in that tough NFC East division.
And we'll see if that Bears loss does come back to bite Washington in the butt, because that could probably, come down to tiebreakers. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Cincinnati, speaking of going 3-3, they bounced back to now they're at 3-3 going into the bye. Joe Burrow threw for 185 yards and 2 TDs and an interception. Joe Mixon, still probably not enough rushing yards to your liking. He said he only carried the ball 12 times for 38 yards. On the flip side, though, Geno Smith was struggling. 2 interceptions, was sacked 4 times. So, could have been maybe them, traveling cross country was the issue, but I don't know. I mean, well, what do you think? I mean, this is sort of like I kind of watched this game a little bit too, and there was a little bit of a struggle there, but since to their credit, they were able to come, make the plays late to win it.
Yeah, the Cincinnati defense was more aggressive yesterday, sacking Geno Smith a couple of times, of course, picking him off twice, as you just mentioned. But Kenneth Walker III actually ran the ball well for Seattle, 19 times for 62 yards in their only touchdown. Tyler Lockett had the best game from a wide receiver standpoint, 6 catches for 94 yards. DK Metcalf, he was injured early in the game. He did come back, but he just wasn't himself. It was all about that Cincinnati defense. Even though their offense, they kind of broke out in that first half, scoring 14 of their 17 points, but it was a defense that really closed the job and held the Seattle Seahawks in check.
Yeah, so we'll see if Cincy, we're going to see the Cincy team that we've expected to see early this season. So we'll see what happens there. They got a bye week, so they can rest up and maybe Joe Burrow can rest up that calf. Shout out to our buddy Spirotius who had the call of this game. Too bad it wasn't as close as we thought. 31-20. Jacksonville came back to after going 2-0 in London. Well, 1-1, 2-0 in London and beating the Colts. Their AFC South rivals are now in first place. Right now they go to 4-2. Trevor Lawrence was a little bit banged up. Threw for 2 TDs and an interception, 181 yards. Travis Etienne had 2 rushing touchdowns. On the flip side, though, Gardner Minshew, no Minshew mania apparently. He threw for 329 yards, but 3 interceptions. So, the Jacksonville, I think we're starting to see, maybe they are this Jacksonville squad that we thought that we're going to see earlier this season, maybe.
Yeah, they showed in that second quarter scoring 21 points there to pull away from the Colts in that first half. As we talked about on Friday, this is where the Indianapolis Colts are going to miss their star quarterback, their rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson. He does a little bit more than just run out of the pocket. He's also an efficient passer as well. Gardner Minshew gives you something from the veteran's perspective, but he doesn't have the same skill set as Richardson in the running department for the Colts. I know Zach Moss did score again yesterday. Michael Pittman Jr. had a nice game with 9 catches for 109 yards. I know most of that was in garbage time, but it was Jacksonville's offense that decided to step up in that first half. In the second half, the Jacksonville defense, which has been maligned all year due to underperformance, but it stepped up yesterday when it had to, even though with the Colts trying to make that late comeback, it was the Jaguars defense and Josh Allen that shut the door down.
Yes, they did, and they did just enough to win that game. And like I said, we'll see. I mean, look, I know the AFC South is a little more competitive than a lot of people thought. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think this is definitely going to be interesting. See what happens the rest of the season with Jacksonville. Now let's go to South Beach, Miami, 42-21. Even though the Panthers were up 14-0 at one point in the first quarter, they scored 42 and just another great showing by Tua. There were 262 yards and 3 TDs. Raheem Mostert, probably one of his best performances in a while, 115 rushing yards and 2 TDs. Tyreek Hill, 163 yards and a touchdown catch. And they actually have now only the 1958 Colts, the Dolphins joined them as the only teams in NFL history to record 15 rushing TDs and 15 receiving TDs through their first 6 games of the season. That Colts team would actually go on to win the Super Bowl that year. Well, back then it was the NFL championship, but of course you get what I'm saying. But I mean, look, they had a little hiccup against Buffalo, but I think Miami, they're starting to show you why they're one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I give Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel credit for using his offensive weapons efficiently. You mentioned with Tyreek Hill with 6 catches, and one of them was for a touchdown. We'll talk about that celebration in just a moment. But they maintain their poise within the rushing game. Of course, A-Chain, it's not called A-Chain on this show, is on injury reserve for the next few weeks. Raheem Mostert, who was the starter early in the season, he returned to form with 115 yards and rushing and 2 touchdowns. But on the flip side for Carolina, you saw some things early from Bryce Young, but he relegated back to being a rookie quarterback as the Miami Dolphins defense stepped up in that second half to only limit Carolina to 7 points. But the Miami Dolphins, not too many people are talking about them coming out the AFC, but as long as this group, i.e. Tua Tagovailoa, stays healthy, unlike last year where they barely sneaked into the playoffs, this could be a really very dangerous team come playoff time.
Could be, and they may have a home game too. We'll see about that. Frank Wright, of course, he's now giving away play calling duties. You guys can hear about this news to OC Thomas Brown. So they have a bye this week, so they'll give him some time to kind of get things going. We'll see if that kind of helps in that department. And probably one of the most surprising games of the day yesterday. That is San Francisco, being given their first loss of the season by Cleveland, the Browns of all teams. Despite PJ Walker throwing 2 interceptions, They did just enough to kind of, be able to, make the stops. Myles Garrett made some big plays on defense. The rest of that defense, you got to think that maybe Christian McCaffrey and also Deebo Samuel were hurt. They both were out. So you got to wonder that might have played a little bit of a part in this upset. So we were to watch the rest of this game here in Chicago after the Bears debacle. But yeah, I mean, I know Jim Schwartz. Some people will say, he's like, now against San Francisco in recent years. Against against Kyle Shanahan. So I don't know if you want to keep that for whatever it's worth. But what do you think about this game yesterday?
Cleveland's very productive and creative offensively yesterday. As you mentioned with P.J. Walker, former Bear backup, by the way. Even though he threw 2 interceptions, he threw for 192 yards. Jerome Ford ran the ball hard for Cleveland 17 times for 84 yards. Amari Cooper, it was finally nice to see him show up. He had 4 catches for over 108 yards. But you brought up that defense earlier, Lakina. It's been one of the best units in the league all year. They just haven't found their game offensively until yesterday. I think it was the running game that kept them in check. You mentioned those injuries on the flip side for San Francisco. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel all going out with injuries. Obviously, that played a huge factor as well. Kyle Shanahan, you just kind of got that feeling that they were trying to hang on to victory. They had a chance at the end, but their rookie kicker missed that field goal, and that was that.
Yeah, that was that for there. So hopefully the McCaffrey and Samuel injuries aren't too serious. So we'll see what happens there for the rest of the season for San Francisco. And where's already Brandon at? Of course we're down to your with your Houston Texans there. Some would say it's sort of a mild upset. They beat the New Orleans Saints 20-13. CJ Stroud threw for 2 TDs, got his first interception of his career, so that streak was over with, but still a solid showing by him. A nice bounce back there. Devin Singletary rushed for 58 yards. And the flip side, though, Derek Carr threw for 353 yards, a TD and an interception. Alvin Kamara starting to get a little bit better after that suspension, 68 rushing yards, but it was really the defense that kind of, did enough for Houston to hang on and win this game.
As we said before, new head coach D'Amico Ryans has a great unit defensively, and they're going to show up. But offensively, that's what I'm worried about. I know that Dameon Pierce didn't look that great yesterday, but C.J. Stroud, their rookie quarterback out of Ohio State, he's taking what the defense is giving him. And you notice he's starting to gain a little bit more confidence, and that's what you like to see in your franchise quarterback. As we talked about before, Lakina, I thought that Houston would get better as the year will go on. I'm sure they'll be that way if they don't get overconfident. But you're starting to see some signs of it right now. And it's no mistake that they are 3-3 on the year. On the flip side for New Orleans, Chris Olave has 7 catches for 96 yards, but Derek Carr and Michael Thomas is still having trouble making that connection. And you saw that yesterday, especially with that interception to end the game.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Like I said, that Houston team is going to give people fits. So we'll see if they can kind of. They may have a say who wins that AFC South. So maybe not them themselves, but whoever else. Maybe Indianapolis or Jacksonville. So going to the 3:00 games. I watched a little bit of this game. This was the second half of the single header game that was aired on CBS yesterday here in Chicago. Las Vegas beat the Patriots 21-17. Jimmy G, he had to lead the game. We'll see what his status is for Sunday. He threw 162 yards, and touchdown and interception. Bryce Harper came on, was pretty solid in the relief. Josh Jacobs rushed for 77 yards. On the flip side, Mac Jones threw for 200 yards and an interception. Malik, Cunningham came in, but he really didn't do too much. So that was actually a rushing play that he used. But it was really, like I said, it was a defense that definitely stepped up. I mean, Mac Jones was sacked 4 times, and Max Crosby, show you and why he had 4 solo tackles and a half a sack. That's what he got credited for. And Amik Robertson had a sack too. So, and Ballard Nichols, former Bear, had a half a sack. So, this is who the Bears going to be facing this Sunday. So, Sid, what do you think?
I think if you're Tyson Bagent of the Bears, I think Max Crosby will be haunting you in your sleep from now until next Sunday morning. But I digress. But on the flip side for the New England Patriots, only the offensive starter that you had was Kendrick Bourne, their third-year wide receiver. He had 10 catches for 89 yards. You mentioned, Lakina, a strong defense from the Raiders, and they ran the ball hard with Josh Jacobs. That was the difference yesterday, even though New England tried their best to come back. But you got that feeling that the Raiders could not screw that up because New England was lost in that first half offensively. I know they got it back together in that second half, but you just got that feeling that the Raiders had control, and they hung on to a win at home yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great win for Las Vegas. And look, they're kind of sort of coming along kind of quietly. They're now 3-3, so we'll see if they can kind of get together a couple of wins. Now, probably one of the games of the day, and didn't end up not being not so much. Tampa Bay wore their old school creamsicle uniforms. I thought they were really cool. I know some were too crazy about them, but but look, Detroit could maybe they're showing you why they're the most, the best team in the NFL. 20-6, I should say. Really not really competitive. I feel like 353 yards and 2 TDs for Jared Goff. The rushing, game wasn't too much for the Lions. I know David Montgomery left with a rib injury, but Baker Mayfield threw an interception. Just couldn't really get it going on offense for Tampa. So this was another one of those grinded out wins for the Lions that we're used to seeing the last few years.
What did we say on Friday, Lakina? I said this was going to come down to the rushing games for both teams. Like you mentioned, David Montgomery, he had a run until he exited the game with a rib injury. On the flip side for Tampa Bay, Rachaad White only had, 26 yards on 7 carries. I thought that was a tall tale sign why the Tampa Bay's offense struggled throughout that game. On the flip side for Detroit, you mentioned with Jared Goff, give him just like the formula he had with Sean McVay we used with the Rams. Give him a solid running game. The defense will show up. Just do not turn the ball over. You put up points, and that's what the Detroit Lions have been doing so far this year. Amon St. Brown had 12 catches and 124 yards in a receiving touchdown. The Lions offense is rolling, Lakina. I'm not saying that offense is going to scare anybody because it's not the Miami Dolphins. It's not the old St. Louis Rams from 20-plus years ago. But as long as they stay efficient, they should be fine. And they earned that victory yesterday.
Yes, they did. And that was like I said, I'm sure Dan Campbell loved those sort of grinded out wins, how he feels about those. So we'll see if Detroit can keep it going. Let's go to Los Angeles. The Rams really no trouble with the Cardinals, 26-9. Matt Stafford threw for 226 yards and a TD. Kyron Williams, 158 rushing yards and a TD. Cooper Kupp got his first TD catch, coming back from injury. 148 receiving yards as well. On the flip side for Arizona, Josh Dobbs, 235 yards and an interception. So, Sid, I mean, look, we thought that we all us and our girl Christine Manico and KXRP, we all picked the Rams. So, but to their credit, Arizona did keep it close for a little bit, but the Rams were able to pull away after that.
Yeah, we all picked the Rams, and that's kind of how the game went yesterday. It was kind of what I expected. You mentioned Kyron Williams running the ball 20 times for 158 yards and a touchdown. That's what this Rams offense needs. Of course, with the injuries to quarterback Matthew Stafford, he needs to have the pressure off of him. Once you have a strong running game in front of him, it makes your quarterback's life that much easier. You mentioned Cooper Kupp with his first touchdown of the year yesterday. Don't forget about Puka. Boy, I messed up his name already, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's still going to be a valuable weapon as the year goes on if he stays healthy. So the Rams defense, you got to give them props as well. They shut out the Cardinals in that second half with a 0 on the scoreboard. So the Rams are 3-3. Am I going to take them seriously as a playoff team? I'm not hopping on that bandwagon just yet. I want to see them do this against San Francisco, against Seattle, and some of the better teams on their schedule in the weeks ahead.
They do have them coming up in the next few weeks, so we'll see. I mean, people thought that maybe the Rams were going to take this year, so they're 3-3 now. So we'll see what happens. Another one of the big upsets here. No more undefeateds in the NFL as the Jets upset the Eagles 20-14. Jalen Hurts, clearly not his best game so far. 280 yards, had a touchdown, but 3 interceptions. Zach Wilson actually looked decent, 186 yards. Breece Hall had a rushing TD. Jalen Hurts also had a rushing TD. But you can kind of tell that, A.J. Brown and losing effort, 131 receiving yards, but you saw, and also, too, remember once Lane Johnson was one of their top centers, he left. You can kind of tell that things sort of went off the rails for that Eagles offense. The 3 interceptions by Hurts, I think he was sacked, a big time sack there, and including one it was just one of those things where you just wonder, like, okay, what the heck happened? But this is one of those times where, look, I think the Eagles kind of played down their competition, and then they lose one of their top linemen, and then they end up losing the game. So Hurts was making some very careless mistakes. So, Sid, what did you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's the sense that I picked up watching the majority of that game yesterday, even though I did take a short nap. But give the Jets credit as well. They showed up defensively, especially in the late stages of the game. Despite with A.J. Brown having 7 catches for 131 yards, it was that Jets defense that made the big plays at the end. Philadelphia shot themselves in the foot, as you mentioned. They couldn't get a running game going. I know Jalen Hurts had 47 yards to lead the team in rushing, but that's just not going to get it done. And if you're Philadelphia, yes, you're 5-1, but I think if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you should be a little bit more concerned than at this point last year, because last year they nearly ran the damn table till the month of December when everybody started getting hurt. But this year, something seems off. As we said before, Philadelphia is still going to be a good team, but the things that went for them last year are now going against them. They got to figure out how they're going to get the offense back on track. I know they were missing Jalen Carter yesterday and a couple other guys defensively, but it was more about the lack of performance on offense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it really was, and probably not the best showing for Philadelphia. So we'll see if they can bounce back, but. Definitely, I mean, the Jets are now 3-3. And you saw, of course, you saw Aaron Rodgers going out there throwing the ball. Some people were saying that maybe he might come back in a few weeks. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm not buying that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that.
Well, look, who knows all the hoopla, especially, Greeny, of course, was insufferable on Get Up this morning. So you take that for as you will. Now, on the flip side, though, for New York fans, had a couple of chances to beat the Bills in Sunday Night Football, 14-9. Buffalo's able to hang on. Josh Allen threw for 2 TDs and an interception. James Cook, you'll be happy. He was the leading rusher for the Bills, 71 yards. Tyrod Taylor on the flip side was very solid, 200 yards throwing, and Saquon Barkley in his first game back, a solid 93 rushing yards. Darius Slayton led the Giants there, but here is some interesting little tidbits there. The Giants are the 4th team to go their first 6 games of the season without an offensive touchdown in the opening half. The others, were of course the 1976 Bucks, the 98 Bucks, and the 98 Chargers. And they're also, too, the first time in the Super Bowl era, a team finished a game with more passing yards, more rushing yards, fewer fumbles lost, fewer interceptions, fewer missed field goals than their opponent, and still lost. Teams were 134-0 at that before then. So, Sid, the floor is yours, my friend.
There was a couple of bad calls to end that game yesterday. We'll get into that in our starts and does in just a moment. But as far as the game is concerned, maybe the Bills were still a little bit jet-lagged from playing against the Jaguars overseas last weekend, but I thought they kind of played down to that competition as well. You mentioned give the New York Giants credit. Tyrod Taylor didn't look bad passing for 200 yards. Saquon Barkley, who made his return, almost had 100 yards, 93 of them rushing to be exact off of 24 carries. The Giants had a couple of chances to win that game, but I think it was more about Buffalo sleepwalking. They finally caught up to them with the wake-up call in that fourth quarter, scoring all 14 points to pull out that win.
Yeah, not the prettiest, but I guess you'll take it if you're Sean McDermott. But you better figure things out, because the way Miami's been playing lately, the next time you guys play in Miami later this year, it's going to get interesting. Listen, like I say, sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Sid, real quick, your studs, go.
Okay, my 3 studs. Tyreek Hill for the Miami Dolphins. My second stud will be Drake London for the Atlanta Falcons, 9 catches for 125 yards, even though the Falcons lost. My third stud will be Kyron Williams for the Los Angeles Rams, 20 carries, 158 yards, and the score is the Rams blow out the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, well, I'll do the defense for the Rams. I mean, they're still very viable. Aaron Donald, had 5 tackles yesterday. Ernest Jones, led them with 10. So 3-3. Like I said, we'll see if they're for real, what they're gonna do. So we'll see if they do this against your San Francisco. Will probably be in a good mood after that loss to Cleveland. Justin Tucker, I mean, 6 field goals. I mean, look, he's most of the time he's very reliable. I know he's been, missed a couple of big ones this year, but look, you're back on track for Baltimore. And I guess my third set, I guess I'll say Miami. I mean, look, that Miami offense, as a whole, I think has been really solid. Tua, Hill, among others. So Mostert, you know what? I'll call out Mostert though. He had one of his best showings in the last few years.
All right, my 3 duds are as follows: that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense and the referees from the Dolphins-Panthers game. Tyreek Hill scored the touchdown. He pulled a camera from, I guess, one of the photographers. He did a backflip, and the referee decided to call a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Tyreek. That made no sense. And the pass interference call and no call at the end of that New York Giants Buffalo Bills game. Now, the original pass interference that was called Lakina, I didn't think it was pass interference, but the referees thought different. So the Giants got the ball at the 1 yard line. The last play of the game, where clearly I forgot who that Buffalo defender was. He clearly mugged the Giants receiver in the back of the end zone. No flag was called. Now that was pass interference, and that was not called.
Okay. Well, I'll go to my duds first. I mean, like the Bucs offense, I don't know what the heck happened yesterday. You couldn't get it going. Baker Mayfield looked, kind of ordinary. Another dud, I guess New Orleans, because they didn't look, Houston defense got the better of them, but you thought that maybe they would play a little bit better, especially here in Europe. They were in a controlled environment, so I don't know what happened there. And Buffalo, even though you guys won that game, and unfortunately, you kind of sleptwalk through. So you got away with it. You almost did. And I know there were some questionable calls. They were going to call those type of things back to back, especially at the end of the game. So it is what it is with that. But so my 3 duds, and I guess. Well, I guess I'll do my bonus to San Francisco. I know. Look, the referees at San Francisco game. There were a couple of calls there that should not have been called. I forgot who the defender was, but I guess that they held, I guess, one of the receivers for the Browns, and that kind of stuff ended up being the game-winning field goal. Now that was more egregious than that one, for in the Giants-Bills game.
And your Monday Night Football contest tonight has the Dallas Cowboys visiting Los Angeles to take on the LA Chargers. That's at 7:15 p.m. on ABC, ESPN, and the Manning Cast returns on ESPN2.
Yes. I know Sis going to be looking forward to that one. And that is your schedule for week 6 in the NFL. Hour number 1 and the Bucs. Hour number 2 is straight ahead. As this is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll go to the college gridiron, a couple of upsets in college football over the weekend, and also too, of course, the LCS, ALCS. Rangers got the first game. They play again today. NLCS starts tonight. There's a number 1 in men's college hoops, in the first preseason poll, and Old School TV Monday, and a whole lot more. A lot to do in hour number 2. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. College Gridiron Talk right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
will earn the title United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, I can't scroll again, IG.
We have less than an hour left remaining of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
And of course, some breaking news real quick. Matt Eberflus says that Justin Fields is out for the week with a dislocated thumb, but no overall timetable. Is really going to come down to grip strength. He also Rappaport also adds that the hope is for rehab to improve the grip strength and for Fields to get back on the field when he can. Surgery would mean that he'd be out indefinitely. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. But
yeah, I don't think you have to be a genius to figure this out, that Tyson Bagent is your quarterback going forward. And if Justin Fields is out for the remainder of the year, unfortunately, it's a wasted year because this was a year for him to improve as a quarterback and for the Bears franchise to find out if he was a franchise quarterback. If he, like you said, if he has surgery, that really puts a capper on it, unfortunately. But like you said, we'll see what happens. But going forward for the immediate future, Tyson Bagent, the job is yours, my man.
Yeah, if grip strength is an issue for him, dislocated thumb, that's pretty bad. You need your thumb, as
exactly.
Dan Marino said, way back in the day, you need your thumb to grip the football. So when we do stuff for CBS, so kind of take that for what it's worth. But let's go to the college gridiron, Sid. Of course, Fresno State with a bounce back win. Holding off Utah State. Tulane beat Memphis 31-21. These are Friday scores, mind you. And Stanford came back to beat Colorado 46-43 in overtime. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch a single moment of this game because I thought, they didn't, Colorado shouldn't have a problem. They were up 29. This is the largest comeback, of course, in Stanford program history. The fourth largest comeback in Pac-12 history. The largest halftime deficit to overcome to win in Pac-12 history. Largest blown lead, for Colorado in their program history. Sid, what happened?
The defense got out of hand in that second half. Looking at Stanford combined with the second half and the two overtimes, Stanford outscored Colorado 39-7. Colorado's defense was in shambles. They couldn't rush the passer. They couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't stop the run. Offensively, as I told you on Friday, they needed to run the ball with some consistency. They couldn't do that in that second half. They were undisciplined once again, 17, 18 penalties in total for the whole game. That's not going to get it done. Shedeur Sanders, even though he had 400 yards passing and 5 touchdowns, he still had a critical turnover there late in regulation. And Deion Sanders, I know people didn't expect much for him this year in terms of being in a bigger bowl game or what have you. I know they're still 4-3, but this group needs to play more disciplined football because 18 penalties in one football game, that's not going to get it done. You look great in that first half, but that second half, you just lost control. Travis Hunter actually looked great in his return. He had 2 touchdowns early in the game, but, playing him both offensively and defensively for the amount of snaps they wanted him to play, which he did, he got tired in that second half, and Stanford was able to take advantage of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Stanford came back to beat the Buffaloes. But my main concern for Colorado is protect Shedeur Sanders, which they struggled to do all year. You can't run the ball with any consistency, and you play dumb football, committing dumb penalties. That's not going to get it done.
Yeah, Alik, hold on, I'm saying his name right. Manor. I know I might be butchering his name. 294 receiving yards and 3 TDs, and that's among the highest I think for a Stanford receiver in years. And Ashton Daniels, I should say, threw for 396 yards and 4 TDs. And that interception, I believe that's Rod Gilmore's kid, Akai Gilman. He had the interception. Of course, we know his dad did that a few times back in the day for Stanford. And look, Colorado, they've got a tough schedule these last 5 games.
UCLA next week.
Yep, we got UCLA next week. They got Oregon State the week after that. Well,
no, they got next week off, but the week after is UCLA.
Yeah, it's UCLA. They go at UCLA. They host Oregon State. They play Arizona. We'll see where Arizona is up by then. Washington State, and they finish up the season against Utah. We'll see where Utah is by then. That's a Saturday after Thanksgiving. So
yeah,
they need 2 more wins to get to 6. That's going to be a tough schedule to try to go at it. So I don't know. I mean, this could be a long, next few weeks for Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and the rest of that crew. But we'll see what happens with that. Now going into Saturday's games. Hold on here. Give me a second. Georgia, no trouble with Vanderbilt. I mean, you thought that maybe they kind of like jumped on Vanderbilt earlier. I'm talking about Georgia. So, but they did just have to win that game 37-20. Although they are going to be one of the Brock Burrs. He's going to have surgery. So one of their top tight ends, probably one of the best tight ends in the nation, probably the top tight end contender in the draft next year. Not having him there, this could come back to bite him in the butt, but we'll see.
Yeah, you mentioned Georgia not having any trouble. You mentioned with their schedule this year not being as tough, and with their whole team not being as good as it was the last couple years. They're doing things with the basics to get by. You mentioned with their stud quarterback, Mr. Beck, he only had 261 yards passing. He had a Carson Beck. He had 1 turnover, but you really didn't need him to carry the day for your offense. That was Dejan Edwards with 20 carries, 146 yards in a touchdown. As long as you get a strong running game from Georgia and you don't have Beck turn the football over, you should be okay. So far, Georgia has done that this year.
Yes, they have, and they've been pretty impressive. So we'll see if Georgia, because it gets a little bit tougher for Georgia in the next few weeks. So we'll see. Michigan, who argues probably should be the number 1 team in the country, they had no trouble with Indiana. They did give up the opening drive for a touchdown, but they scored like 52 points after that. No trouble with Indiana after that, though. I mean, I think they kind of went to a slow start, but I think they woke up pretty quick. J.J. McCarthy threw for 3 TDs, 222 yards, of course. Blake Corum wasn't even the lead rusher. That was Benjamin Hall, but he did get 2 TDs. Edwards also had a rushing TD. It was a defense from Michigan once again. I think they sacked their QB, I think like 3 times. I want to say for Indiana. They sacked Trey Jackson a couple of times. 2 interceptions. They got 2 interceptions from him. So. Indiana really struggled, but Michigan, I mean, look, I think they'll show you why they should probably be the number 1 team in the country. They're the 4th team in the AP poll era to score 30+ points while allowing only 10 or less points in 7 consecutive games within a season, joining the 2019 Ohio State Buckeyes, 1972 Nebraska Cornhuskers, and the 1966 Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, as I said the last couple of weeks, Lakina, the Michigan offense needs to show me something outside of Blake Corum, i.e. J.J. McCarthy. He had a strong game, not passing-wise, but he had 3 touchdown passes. As you mentioned, their defense is showing you why is the best in the country next to Texas. And they've shown you why with the opponents on their schedule, they're better than what they are on paper. You saw what they did to Minnesota last week. You saw what they did to Indiana this past Saturday. So Michigan is really showing you their dominance, putting their foot on the necks of the opponents. I want to see them do this when they play better teams, i.e. Ohio State. I forgot who else they played. I know they played at Michigan State on Saturday. I know that's a big rivalry game, and Michigan State is going through their issues off the field. But I want to see them, I'm talking about Michigan, do this against better competition. Right now, you can't blame them for who they have on their schedule, but they're doing the job what they're supposed to do right now.
Well, James Franklin has a lot of nerve, but we'll get to him in a second. Marvin Harrison Jr. Had 105 receiving yards and a touchdown catch as Ohio State. No trouble with Purdue, 41-7. Kyle McCord threw return 76 yards and 3 TDs. And look, they did what you're supposed to against a Purdue team that's kind of struggling at the moment. So they were able to kind of do just enough to win that game. And kind of ended that game, pretty early. Florida State, no trouble with Syracuse, 41-3. And speaking of Mr. James Franklin, Mr. Played UMass. They had no trouble with UMass, 63-0. Okay. They got a pretty tough one coming up. So they play Ohio State Saturday, the big new Saturday game. So we'll put your money where your mouth is, mister. But I digress. Let's see here. Oh, the big game in the Pac-12. This was a very thrilling game. Washington edged out Oregon 36-33. And this is sort of one of those games where, look, there are no more divisions in the Pac-12 anymore. So we may see these two teams play again in about 6 weeks from now. Bo Nix threw for 337 yards and 2 TDs in a losing effort. But Michael Penix Jr. threw for 302 yards and 4 TDs. Dylan Johnson had 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. Bucky Irving, a losing effort for Oregon, 127 yards and a TD. So, but it was really the defense, that kind of, got it going late. And, they made a questionable call, I would say, that kind of, gave Washington another shot to perhaps maybe win that game, and they ended up winning it. So, this was actually a crazy game. So if you guys saw this game, definitely one of the games of the week in college.
Yeah, I had this game on my television. It was very entertaining to watch. As we said on Friday, this could be one of the best games of the week because of what both these teams do offensively. I think the total was 71.5. I think I had the over. No, I did not bet it officially. Thank goodness I didn't because your kicker for Oregon decided to miss it in regulation, which was sending the game into overtime. But I digress. That's why I don't bet regularly. But as far as the game was concerned, Bo Nix did his thing, 2 touchdowns off of 337 yards passing. You mentioned about Michael Penix Jr. He should be up there right now, in my opinion, number 2 for a Heisman trophy voting. I know he had that one interception early, but he came through when he had to. On the flip side for Oregon, Troy Flanker had a great game, 8 catches for 154 yards in the score. It was going to come down to whoever had the ball last. And call me crazy, Lakina, but with that ending to that game, it reminded me of those old Florida State Miami games in the late 90s and the early 2000s. It was very reminiscent of those times.
Yeah, I think that they in this case that kick went like right, left. So right, and right, left. So but again, look, we'll see. Look, there are no more divisions in the Pac-12, so we may see these two teams play again for the Pac-12 championship in Vegas in the about 6 or 7 weeks. So something to look out for there. Speaking of the Pac-12, USC just got hammered by Notre Dame, 48-20. And let me just say this. Look, I'm not surprised Notre Dame won this game, but I'm surprised that they did, get their, they basically kicked USC's butt. Yes, you hear that, Christine? Empire threw 128 yards and 2 TDs. Audric Estem had 92 rushing yards and 2 TDs. Caleb Williams, threw for only 199 yards and 3 TDs. I mean, 3 interceptions and only 1 touchdown, I should say. And my God, I think he was sacked 4 times, I believe. So, so that Notre Dame defense, to their credit, this is I think the most for Notre Dame against a AP top 10 opponent since the polling began all the way back in the 30s, and also is definitely the biggest margin for that rivalry. So, Sid, I don't know if you watched this game. I kind of turned it off after that second interception. I'm like,
I turned to it a couple of times. I was watching another game which we'll review in just a moment. You probably know which one I'm talking about, but it was you really don't associate Notre Dame with being a great offensive team. Is always led by their defense, and that's exactly what happened. They got after Caleb Williams early. I remember asking you and Christine about their chances of getting after Mr. Williams, and I know she was pretty confident because she's an Irish fan, but I'll be honest, looking, I did not expect this type of performance. But give it up to Marcus Freeman and crew. That Irish defense got after Williams early and they got after him often, which set up took the pressure off that Notre Dame offense. Just let them run the ball and take some time off that clock. That's exactly what happened. you really didn't have to talk about the USC defense because the offense really let them down a lot because they failed to protect Mr. Williams.
Yeah, that O-line, that D-line. Look, I said this. I said, look, don't be surprised that USC does not make the playoff because of their defense. Their O-line actually did not look good either. So, it's good grief. You hope that they can get it together, but USC has a pretty tough schedule to these next few weeks. So we'll talk about that on Friday. Alabama edged out Arkansas 24-21. Arkansas had a couple of chances to win it. They weren't able to do that. Jalen Moreau, 238 yards. 2 TDs. I mean, you maybe Alabama is starting to figure things out a little bit, but I don't know yet. If it's all I know I shouldn't be questioning a team of Nick Saban, but they play Tennessee next on Saturday, so that's really going to be interesting to see where they're going to where they're at. But but again, they didn't get caught looking ahead, so nice showing by Alabama this week.
Well, on paper, this is not one of Alabama's strongest teams, but as you mentioned, as the year has gone on, especially surviving the scare against Ole Miss, and so definitely surviving the scare on the road early in the year against South Florida. And it looks like Nick Saban's figured things out with their quarterback, Jalen Moreau. He's not a star quarterback, but just have him drive the Ferrari. Don't strip the gears. Don't do anything else. Just don't turn the ball over. Make the plays when you had to make them. You'll be just fine. But it's really about Alabama's running game with Jason McClellan. He had 16 carries for 83 yards. On the flip side, for the Crimson Tide, that team is going to be led by their defense, and they've been stepping up all year long.
Yes, they have. So, I think, like I said, we'll see about the game against Tennessee. So, I'm looking forward to that game on Saturday. We'll talk more about that on Friday. And I know this is a game you wanted to get to, Sid. North Carolina held off Miami 41-31. And look, I kind of kept going back and forth. You wonder, how Miami's mindset was going to be. They did, lead them. They did lead North Carolina with 17-14 at halftime. But, to North Carolina's credit, they scored 21 points in the second half and in the third quarter, I should say. And despite Miami's best efforts, it was just too little, too late.
Yeah, I know Tyler Van Dyke had a better showing for the Miami Hurricanes. He had 391 yards passing, 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. But it was the Miami defense that got shredded for North Carolina. Omarion Hampton had 24 carries for 197 yards in the score. And Devontae Walker, I don't know if you saw his family. They had a couple of shots at them in the stands. He had 6 catches, 132 yards and 3 big touchdowns. We talk about the mindset of the Miami Hurricanes, as you mentioned. I thought they got it out of the system in the first half, but their defense, I don't know what happened, but it just got shredded in that second half as North Carolina scored 28 points, as you mentioned, 21 of them in the third quarter. So Miami's 0-2 in the ACC. North Carolina, they're 6-0 overall, 3-0 in the ACC. I'm not saying North Carolina should be considered one of those teams for those playing spots, but even though Drake May didn't have the world's greatest performance, North Carolina could cause some problems for some folks.
Yeah, Tez Walker, of course, Tez Walker, second player in North Carolina history to record 3 receiving TDs in a game against a top 25 team since Hakeem Nicks did it all the way back in 2008 versus Boston College. I believe Matt Ryan was on that team, if I'm not mistaken. But North Carolina is one of those teams where you're just like, they're kind of quietly, 6-0, like, oh, hey, but look, I'm sure Matt Brown probably prefers it that way. So, it's actually pretty interesting. But North Carolina just keep chugging along. It's going to get very interesting for them as it goes on. Now, Syracuse, Louisville had a letdown might be a bit of a stretch. They lose to Pittsburgh 31-21. Christian Veilleux had threw for 2 TDs for Pittsburgh. Jack Plummer, I should say, had 2 interceptions. I saw the highlights of this game. And just like, it was just unfortunate. This is your typical, like, you beat a big team like Notre Dame, and then you end up having to let down against someone that he should have beaten pretty handily.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes when you're trying to become one of those teams that wants to build a winning tradition like Louisville. Actually, Louisville hasn't been that bad, but like you said, you beat Notre Dame in primetime in front of a national audience last week at home, and then you look at the next opponent on your schedule. Oh, we can go in there and beat them. We can take a night off. Well, you get caught with your pants down. This is what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So I gotta I gotta figure things out there. Oregon State beat UCLA 36-24. Like I said, their the defense really was the story here. DJ Googly threw for 266 yards and 2 TDs. But like I said, it was their defense. They intercepted Dante Morris just from UCLA 3 times. So like I said, it's that their defense was really kind of like what's kept them. That's why they're one of the top teams in the Pac-12. Utah no trouble with Cal. Duke no trouble with NC State. Alabama's next opponent, Tennessee, held Texas A&M. Arizona sort of a mild upset against Wazoo, and Wazoo's been they've been kind of like had the air let out of them after that loss to Oregon State, and Cam Ward 192 yards and an interception, but Arizona, look, they gave USC all they can handle last a couple weeks back, so I'm not that surprised that they were able to beat them. They beat Wazoo pretty handily.
Yeah, Arizona's 4-3 overall this year. They're 2-2 in the Pac-12. I'm not saying they're going to make any noise, but they could cause some problems for a couple of teams going down the stretch. Wilson is supposed to be a rebuilding year, just like their neighboring team, Arizona State.
Well, look, there wasn't. Well, they thought that maybe they may have a shot at perhaps maybe going to a bowl game, but this is the second year of the new coaching staff, so they're starting to kind of get things going here. So Arizona, they may be going to a bowl game this year, so you'll take that if you're Arizona. So, but it's actually a really good win for them after losing a tough one to USC a couple weeks ago. LSU no trouble with Auburn. Oklahoma State, this is definitely Mike Gundy's best win of the season. They beat Kansas 39-32.
I'm a man. I'm 50.
Well, yeah. I will say he's 54 now, right? He just turned 54 a couple weeks ago, couple months ago, I should say. But a good win for them. The Fighting Mike Burmers, as we call him here in front of the show. Mizzou beat Kentucky 38-21. Rutgers came back. I think they were down. I think like 24 to 3 or something like that. They came back.
Yeah, 8 points down.
And beat Michigan. Yeah, they beat Michigan State 27-24. Iowa State no trouble with Cincy. Illinois, look, a nice win for Illinois. They beat Maryland on the road.
Yep, with a last-second walk-off field goal. And Lakina, I want to get this special for you.
Go ahead. Oh, well, sorry about that. Sid disappeared. This is spiritual for a second. We'll get to that. But yeah, nice win for Illinois. I mean, I think this was the first big win this season. So Illinois, they're kind of had a last-second field goal to win that game in College Park. That's not an easy place to play. So look, a nice showing for Illinois. I mean, Caleb Griffin, who nailed that 43-yard field goal, did the slip and slide, even though it wasn't raining in Maryland. It was actually pretty nice. He did a slip and slide after the game. But yeah, nice win for Brett Bielema and for that crew. So as we are waiting for Sid to come back in just a second, I think his wife, I kind of went out on him. But let's see here, a couple other games of note. TCU beats BYU 44-11. Iowa in a kind of a I don't want to say a stinker, but they beat Wisconsin 15-6. Northern Illinois no trouble with Ohio. Air Force stay undefeated. They beat Wyoming. Colorado State. Those are exciting here. Colorado State came back to beat Boise State, and of course San Diego State beat Hawaii 41-34. So, and that is your schedule for this week in college football. Hopefully, we'll get Sid back coming up right after the break as we'll continue on in Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll talk some LCS, and of course, Rangers take game 1. The NLCS starts tonight. Hopefully, Sid will be back with us for Old School TV Monday. And, of course, we'll talk some Bulls and number 1 in college hoops. So, a lot to do still. Well, you know what? Let's try to see if we can sit off for one more second here before we go to break. Give him a chance to reconnect here. But, yeah, so a lot to do still here. Let's do this, pay off this teaser. You get a teaser, of course. Let's see if we can kind of come on here. The joys of technology, folks. Let's see if you can get him on here. There we go. All right, so now what happened? Did it disappear trick? Oh, shoot. Oh. There we go. All right. All right, Sid. Now, what were you saying before you did your disappear trick? Sid, wait, did you go off again? All right. There you go. Oh shoot! Wait, hold on. This thing doesn't. They'll just love you just love technology, kids.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. There we go. All right. So what were you saying? You want to pay off that little teaser here before we go to break?
Apologies for the audio, but I guess that's what I get for teasing you about your 1970s, 80s college football.
Oh.
But looking at that Wisconsin Iowa game,
there you go. Now,
yeah.
What were you saying? There you go.
Oh, thank you. I guess that's what I get for teasing you for your 1970s, 80s style football with that Wisconsin Iowa score, 15-6. We talked about both these teams turning a brand new leaf offensively this year. I didn't see much of that in that game on Saturday. Which team would you be disappointed in the most, Wisconsin or Iowa? I would say Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin definitely was one of those definitely, probably were more disappointed in them because you thought that maybe they were going to keep it close, perhaps maybe even win this game for Wisconsin. So Iowa, I mean, look, we know Cade McNamara is out for the year, so this was their shot to kind of pounce, and they weren't able to do that. I think they lost their QB for the year, if I'm not mistaken, or for at least for the next few weeks. So. Yeah, so but again, Iowa, you'll take the win and just see if you can kind of get it going and perhaps put together a nice little streak going with your defense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like we talked about on Friday, both these teams were known for big offensive line play and running the football with consistency. As we also talked about too, Wisconsin turning over a new leaf and being more aggressive offensively. That I know defense wins championships and they shut down great offenses, but you just did not get the sense that Wisconsin couldn't get anything going offensively. It was just a terrible performance.
Yeah, just a brutal. You can tell they're still adjusting to that new air raid style offense by Lou Fickell. But you thought that maybe it'd be a little bit better, showing. Yeah, I know Adam Hoke, who's a CHGO Bears, who's a Wisconsin grad. He said he saw so much bad football this weekend. So many interceptions. So took that for what it's worth. But it is what it is. But hopefully, I think they got Michigan coming up. I'm talking about Iowa. Well, in a couple of weeks. So. We'll see how hopefully they'll be a little bit better, but I don't know. But again, you'll take the win if you're Iowa and kind of keep it moving. But it's gonna get a little bit dicey. They actually have Minnesota on Saturday, so Minnesota's coming off a bye, so they'll be interesting too. They don't play Michigan.
That's gonna be tough. Yeah,
that's gonna be real tough. I know that PF's gonna have his guys ready, so we'll see what happens in that game. But we'll talk more about that on Friday.
All right. We got to stretch Lakina and yours truly. Hope we can get his strong connection back in check. We'll be back with our last break of the show on this Monday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We got to review the League Championship Series, at least from the American League side of things. The National League starts today. The Bulls lose their preseason tilt in Denver last night, but do the Bulls have a starting point guard already, position already filled? We'll do that in our Old School TV Monday tribute to Miss Suzanne Summers. That and a whole lot more as you're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, But one of these days, a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is our last segment for the day. So we're going to make it look good. You make it look good out there in YouTube and Facebook and listening land. If you have any questions or comments for us during our last segment of the show, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go a little diamond, do a little diamond talk here with some baseball. Texas beat Houston 2-0 in game 1 of the best of 7 ALCS. And, this is sort of like, I watched a little bit of this game. Jordan Montgomery had a really solid showing for Texas. We didn't really talk about him very much this year because he is actually one of the top, pitchers in the league. Only given 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Justin Verlander, on the other hand, gave us 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and 2 walks. And Leclerc got the save for for Texas, I should say. So, what did you think here? I mean, I kind of feel like, look, we've talked about Texas, all week, and I know Brandon. I wonder if he's still listening because he knew we were going to be talking about his Astros. But not really a lot of showing here for Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez. Where was he yesterday? Kyle Tucker too. Abreu. Corey Seager got ahead, got on base again, and do you think that Texas is going to keep it up?
Can they keep it up? Of course they can. Will they? I don't think so. Only because Houston, those veterans have been there before. They've been through the wars in years past, and I expect them to respond later today when Game 2 takes place. That's at 3:37 Chicago time from Houston on FS1, I believe. But last night, like you said, Jordan Montgomery kept those hitters with those pitches, those hitters honest with those breaking balls. You mentioned Jose Altuve. He didn't get on base. Alex Bregman, who was the second hitter in the lineup, he only had 1 hit. Jose Abreu got 1 hit last night. But after that, the Houston didn't do too much. He only had 5 hits the rest of the way total for the game. But as we say all year, Lakina, a great starting pitching beats good hitting, and scoring comes at a premium in the playoffs. And when you have runners on base, you better take advantage of them because you're not going to get too many of those chances.
No, you're not, especially against a team like Houston. So we'll see what happens in Game 2. I mean, Game 2 is tonight, so it'll be very interesting to see if they can. Well, today I should say because it comes on at 3:37. That'll be on Fox. It'll be Nathan Eovaldi, who we talked about all season long, and Framer Valdez for Houston. So this could be one of those times where if you're Houston, you want to try and jump on Texas early. Look, you know this team very well. You're in the same division, so there's really no excuse why you can't, jump on this team early. And look, Eovaldi's probably one of the best pitchers that you guys have probably never seen or heard, since he plays in Texas, but. This could be one of those games where I'm not saying it's a must win for Houston, but if you're the Astros, you don't want to go to Arlington, about like 2 hours southwest, in Arlington, and be down 2-0. You don't want that.
And plus, excuse me, just like the World Series is a 2-3-2 format, so you definitely don't want to go down 0-2 going to Globe Light Park and for the next 3 games, because that crowd's going to be rocking. And with the Texas Rangers, they've now won 6 in a row, Lakina, to start the playoffs. They beat Tampa Bay in 2, swept Baltimore, and beat Houston. Yeah, so they're on a 6-game winning, so they haven't lost yet in the playoffs. Like I said, Houston's been there before. Like you said, they have to start at the top of that lineup with Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. Both those guys can get on base consistently. I think the Astros offensively will be okay. We talk about Yordan Alvarez. We talk about Kyle Tucker. We talk about Jose Abreu. I know many people, including Yoshiro, room for him personally here in Chicago to do well. But along those first 2 plays I mentioned, Bregman and Altuve get on base to create havoc on the base pass, they'll be fine. I'm looking for Valdez to have a strong performance on the mound, Lakina. He's one of the best underrated left-handers in the league. I know he threw a no-hitter earlier this year. I know last year he had 23 or 24 straight starts of quality starts with 6+ innings pitched. And so he's a big-time hauler. He can log up innings, but he definitely has to step up his game. But most importantly, that offense has to step up for Houston. Like Verlander, I know we didn't talk about, he pitched his tail off last night. He just didn't get any help on the offense. Hopefully, if you're a Houston Astros fans, Valdez could do his thing. But offensively, it's all about the offense for Houston today.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're Houston, you want to try to jump on a league, pretty quick and not look back. Now going to the NLCS, if you had, Arizona playing Philadelphia for NLCS, these games will be on TBS, by the by. Game 1, you got Zach Gallen, who we've read about him, but also to Zach Wheeler, for Philly. So if you're Philadelphia, you want to try and, like Arizona's kind of like, I don't want to say they're sort of a deer in the headlights sort of expressions, and I don't think no one thought they would get this far. But I think if you're Philadelphia, you want to try to take advantage of that veteran experience and that leadership. So if you're Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, you want to try and set the tone early. And Zach Wheeler too. Try not to let Arizona jump on, and that was a big problem for the Dodgers against Arizona. They were able to come, jump on the pitching right away. So if you're Zach Wheeler, you want to try and kind of keep that and tame that up, and hopefully the offense can kind of pick it up for you as well.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Arizona's playing with house money. They're playing with a whole lot of confidence, and they haven't lost in the playoffs either, just like the Texas Rangers. So they had to play in the wild card round as well. So as you mentioned, Zach really, he's a better pitcher than what the Diamondbacks faced in the last series with the LA Dodgers. Zach really is very aggressive. He doesn't mess around with that strike zone. So Arizona's going to have to be patient and try to wait for that pitch to hit, because, as I mentioned, Wheeler doesn't mess around with the strike zone. Now, on the flip side, offensively for Philadelphia, as you mentioned with Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, and JT Realmuto, their catcher, and Bryce Harper. That's a crackerjack box at Citizens Bank Ballpark. So Arizona is definitely for the key tonight. Is that where Zach Gallen is starting on the mound? Keep that ball down, because if you let that ball, I know it's supposed to be in the upper 50s tonight. I don't know what the wind mile-an-hour winds are going to be, but if Zach Gallen and the Arizona pitching staff can keep the ball down, they'll have a great chance of winning this ball game. But if you leave it out in the middle of the plate, those bashers I just mentioned, they can hit it with the best of them, and those balls will be flying out of Citizens Bank Ballpark tonight.
Yes, it might come down to kind of like who has it or offense. So, like I said, this might be a better series than people think. But if you're Philadelphia, I would say try to set the tone like right away. That way you can kind of like maybe you can kind of do what the Dodgers couldn't do, and just kind of like put the kibosh on whatever hopes that they have. If you let the Diamondbacks hang around, they might feel confident that they can go to the World Series. So if you're Philly, you want to try and set that tone early.
Yeah, you mentioned with the Diamondbacks scoring, but before game day, they scored 9 runs in the first 2 games of that series. 9 runs in the first inning in the first 2 games of that Dodgers series in Dodger Stadium, and which really set the tone for those 2 games, obviously for that series. You don't want that again if you're a Philadelphia Phillies. So, as I mentioned, the Phillies have a better starting rotation from top to bottom, but like I said before, and I'll say it again, Arizona's playing with the house money. They have confidence right now, and they're not afraid of Philadelphia. Like you said, I think this is going to be a series of epic proportions. I think ultimately it's going to come down to offense, but I think it's going to come down to the bullpens as well. You saw what Philadelphia did to their Atlanta Braves staff in that NLDS series. You saw what Arizona did against the Dodgers with that lineup. So it's going to come down to the timely hitting of the offense, and it's going to come down to the bullpens for both these teams.
Should be a great series, both of them. Of course, we talked about it. Today you got game 2 of Texas Houston, 3:37 on Fox, and also on FS1, 7:07 on TBS. You got Arizona and Philadelphia. Tomorrow night, it's the NLCS game 2, Arizona and Philadelphia. Merrill Carey versus Aaron Nola. And on Wednesday, no pitching matches, but it will be Houston and Texas on 7:03 on FS1. We'll see if it's tied, or maybe could be Texas being coming for a 3-0 lead. So we'll see what happens there. And that's your schedule for the LCS.
All right, you listening to Second City Sports, Orange Sports Zone, Chicago City, Lakina, hanging out here with you on this Monday afternoon. Wrapping up today's show, Lakina. Some basketball took place over the weekend, and the Chicago Bulls finished up their home-and-home series with the Denver Nuggets last night. They played in the Mile High City, and they lost to the Denver Nuggets by the score of 116-102. For the Chicago Bulls, Kobe White did get the start again. Jokic did his thing against Andre Drummond in that Bulls front line, but I know people want to dismiss the final score. You can to an extent because this is this preseason, but you got to be encouraged, like we said in our last episode, Lakina, the way this Bulls offense has been playing. They're more of a fast-paced team, especially for shooting the 3. And Patrick Williams has stepped up last night with 20 points, including 8 of 14 shooting, 1 and 2 from three-point land.
Yeah, they shot 41% from 3, which I don't think they've done it like maybe 4 or 5 times last year.
Because we didn't have any shooters.
Yeah, 40+% from 3. So that's a huge thing. Right there. And look, having Kobe White, and I mean, I think he wants this. He wants to be proved that he is worthy of that money that he got over the summer. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Ayo. I know he was 0 for 1. He only attempted 1 3, but he was still very solid yesterday. I know Armando Adamo Sadagu had a nice little showing there, trying to get those last few spots on the team. And Jalen Carter was 3 for 5 from the field too as well. So it was really their bench guys. Remember, Vooch didn't play, DeMar didn't play, so Zach didn't play either. Nor did Caruso. So this was really mostly they basically started their second tier guys. So it's really the fact that they were able to, they didn't get a bus kick by Denver. I guess you could say that's a encouraging sign as well. So I mean, look, Dalen Terry didn't shoot well from 3, but Torrey Craig, I mean, he's another one of those guys. He wants to show people that, look, the Bulls can be, look, he came from South Carolina upstate and has had a great career in the league so far. This is going to be his 10th year in the league. So you kind of, he doesn't mind being the underdog. So I think that, look, if you're the Bulls, I mean, look, will they be up there with Philadelphia and Milwaukee and Boston? No, but I think it can kind of be right there in that 4, 5, 6 seed range. If as long as everyone stays healthy and there's consistency in the 3, get Vooch in the point and in the inside, play him a little bit more too, and play Drummond when you need to, they can kind of sort of be right up there and surprise some people.
Yeah, this was a no-brainer decision by Billy Donovan, the Bulls head coach, to sit the starters last night because this was their second game, I believe, in 3 days or 4 days. It was Thursday, so the USA played Thursday. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer. You want to get get a look at some of the young guys who's going to make the team because usually in the NBA is usually 1 or 2 spots open with the 11th or 12th man spot open. So you mentioned like Dalen Terry and Ayo Dosunmu, who's trying to improve his stock this year, even though the Bulls brought him back over the summer via free agency. So they looked good in spots last night, but like you said, Lakina, if most of your stars stay healthy, I think they can be a little bit better than what people think. But like you said before, they don't belong in the class of Milwaukee and Boston, and to a lesser extent Philly. They don't belong up there just yet. But I will agree with you with Andre Drummond. He did have another strong outing last night, even though Nikola Jokic did surf him up early. Andre Drummond, who started the game last night, even though he played only 22 minutes, close to another double-double, 9 points and 10 rebounds. Hopefully, head coach Billy Donovan learned his lesson from last year, especially in that playing game against Miami where he didn't use him. Use Andre Drummond a little bit more because he brings that energy off that bench in terms of defense. As we said before last year, we'll say it again this year until something changes, that this team struggles with rebounding, especially offensively, with offensive rebounds. And Andre Drummond helps you in that department. Yes, you have Vucevic, but after that, and you got P. Will, but after that, you struggle to rebound with some consistency, especially in the tough Eastern Conference. That's going to be a problem if you don't solve that issue.
Yeah, and I think that's really gonna be like the thing for the Bulls because like you said, Sid. I mean, look, that rebounding was a big issue, especially in that play-in against Miami. It was really the rebound that kind of killed the Bulls and whatever that meant. So that was one of the reasons why Miami was able to come back and win it. So that's really gonna be the big thing for the Bulls this year, is to try to get it early and try to be right there aggressive in the inside, especially offensive rebound. That was another big thing that was a Bulls Achilles heel last year.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. Yep. And also, too, as we mentioned with the free agent signings that this Bulls team did this summer, Torrey Craig, he's been doing okay. I kind of like that addition. He brings the energy defensively coming off the bench, who could add some additional scoring. And Javon Carter, hopefully he can shoot the ball from three with some consistency. I'm not saying he should be the starting point guard, but I think he's going to get a little bit more minutes if IU and Kobe Wright struggles early. Javon Carter could see a little bit more take, especially if he shoot the ball with some consistency from the outside.
And that's really going to be the thing, the consistency from the three, the three especially. So that's going to get interesting to see what happens with that. So any other thing from the NBA you want to talk about before we move on?
Oh, have you caught the Victor Wembanyama fever from San Antonio? I know him and Chet Holmgren for the Oklahoma City Thunder played against each other the other night. Victor looks good, even though with that rule, with the resting rule, I forgot what it's called. But do you still believe that Greg Popovich is going to play Victor less than 65 games? You still believe that?
Yes. Yes. Pop's gonna say, you know what, whatever. Like he, like something came up in his family or whatever, or maybe, hey, look, he may, I don't want to say I'll fake an illness, but it'll be interesting to see what he does. What not just him, but also what other coaches do with that rule, because this is gonna get a little bit dicey. The no resting rule. I know there's a name for it, I forgot what it is, but
load management.
The load management rule. Thank you. And this is going to get very interesting, especially if you're teams like Golden State, or if Giannis, when Giannis wants to. I know Adrian Griffin's going to have a lot to do with that whole thing, but this is going to get very interesting here.
Yeah, and also too, I know Milwaukee and the Lakers played last night. Of course, no LeBron James. Where do you expect? I know I don't want to give our NBA preview show next week, but I kind of think that the Lakers are in the same position as the Bulls, even though they do have a slightly better roster than Chicago. But do you think that LeBron James can play at least more than 65 games this year? Him and Anthony Davis both.
Yeah, I think so. I know he's getting up there. He'll be what, I think like 39. He'll be 39 by the time that halfway through the season. So if you're LeBron, you want to try and make sure you want to kind of, because your body's not like it used to be when you were in high school. So we came back out of high school. I know there's been a lot of wear and tear there. So I could see him, using the new load management rules, if you will, to kind of, be a little bit more, I don't, how do you say, like a little bit more like cautious of his health. So and he may let him slide on that. So I don't think it'll be too big of an issue. But I think, same thing with AD. I think he's gonna have a lot of wear and tear in that body. Yes, he is younger, but look, I'm going to be seeing a lot. I think Steph's probably going to do it. Clay's going to do it. Some of the other guys, maybe KD will probably do it a couple of times. So that load management rule is going to get very interesting. Like that, we'll talk more about that next week in our NBA preview special.
Yeah, like I said, the situation can and will get interesting, especially with those players that you just mentioned, especially with the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Remember, both of them can opt out of contracts at the end of the season. Of course, the Clippers are moving into their new arena next season, so a lot on the line there. Now, before we get to our special Old School TV Monday tribute to Miss Suzanne Summers, Lakina, did you catch any highlights or the actual game last night in women's college basketball between Iowa and DePaul? 55,646 diehard college basketball fans attended Kinnick Stadium in Iowa last night. And just looking at a couple pictures here on my monitor, this is like the second time this happened so far. I know the Nebraska volleyball team had their volleyball match last month outside, in which that football stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska filled up to the T. Are we going to see more of this? Obviously not through the winter because it's cold as hell outside, but do you think we're going to see more events like this in the years to come, especially as women's sports and women's college basketball in particular continues to grow?
Yeah, I think so. We may see a little bit occasionally. We've seen the men's team, play on aircraft, carriers. So, and also too, I think I think I forgot. I think it was Duke and Michigan State that played like in a fleet or something. Last season or a couple of seasons ago. So yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot more of this, especially with the growth of college hoops on the women's side. Look, Caitlin Clark's one of the top players in the country. I'm sure she's going to want to redeem herself after that loss to LSU in a championship game. DePaul, we'll see where they're at this year. But I mean, look, we'll see more and more of it. And look, I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of it in the cold, but look, nice showing for them. Plus, Kansas City season about 60,000, 70,000 people. So that's actually pretty impressive. I think they were able to get 55,000 in a mid-October preseason women's college hoops game. But I think Caitlin Clark had a lot to do with that. So we'll probably see a little bit more of this. So yeah, I mean, I think it's always good for women's college hoops to kind of get that showing there. So but look, it's going on to the men's side for a second. Who do you think is the preseason number one for men's college hoops, Sid? I'll give you a couple of guesses real quick.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. I want to say it's Kansas.
Yep, you got it. The Kansas Jayhawks. With the addition of Hunter Dickinson, I think that helps them a lot because rebounding was a big issue for Kansas last year. Duke, number 2, Purdue, number 3, Michigan State 4, Marquette 5, UConn 6, Houston 7, Creighton 8, Tennessee 9, and Florida Atlantic number 10. Your rest of the top 25 real quick: Gonzaga, Arizona, Miami, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Kentucky, San Diego State, Texas, North Carolina, Baylor, USC, of course, with all their additions, Villanova, St. Mary's, Alabama, and Illinois.
A couple of things. One, I told you before we went on there live today that Brad Underwood, Illinois, let's be honest here, they lost their NCAA tournament game last year, and they kind of struggled through the last month and a half of the regular season last year. I believe he should be on the hot seat because that talent that he has on that roster, I know he had a couple players leave, but they should have performed better than they did last year. So in my opinion, I think he should be on some sort of hot seat. And number 2, Kentucky, they didn't have a good year last year. John Calipari, if it was in the other program, he would be on the hot seat, but he's got to start showing some light there too down there in Lexington.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Zach Eddy's back for another year. I'm sure Purdue would love to get that taste out of their mouth, lose until 16th seed of the tournament. Marquette, UConn, the defending national champions. Not a bad showing for them in the top 10. Houston was just a couple games short of going back to the Final Four. Florida Atlantic was just short of going to the Final Four themselves. They got all their guys back. Duke looks really good coming into the gate. Bronny James, we'll see. Hopefully he's good health-wise because that even without him, that USC team is stacked, so they could definitely make a go at it in the Pac-12 with Arizona. Arizona's got pretty much everybody back as well. So college hoops starts in about 5 weeks? Jesus, like good grief, it comes up quick. Good Lord.
Yeah, as you always say, that those seasons that are approaching us quick will be coming around the corner. All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition with Sid and Lakina here, as we're in the kind of a somber note, but we'll call this celebrating the life in a tribute to the passing of the actress Miss Suzanne Marie Summers, who was born on October 16th, 1946. She passed away yesterday, Sunday, October 15th of 2023. She was an American actress, author, singer, businesswoman, and health spokesperson. She played the television roles of Chrissy Snow on Three's Company from 1977 through 1981, and Carol Foster Lambert on Step by Step from 1991 to 1998. Summers later wrote several books, including 2 autobiographies, 4 diary books, and a book of poetry. And some of her credits to her long, illustrious career includes The Anniversary Game, Man Trip, Lots of Luck, The Rockford Files, Sky Heist, Starsky and Hutch, The $6 Million Man, The Love Boat, well, of course, I mentioned Three's Company, Happily Ever After, Full House, 8-Track Flashback, Devil's Food, and much more. And she did numerous TV movies and specials, and she had her own show on QVC.
Yes, she did for a few years. At least she had some fitness products and health and wellness products. She kind of went against the grain with the health and wellness stuff. So, however you felt about that, I mean, look, the Thigh Master. Of course, we all saw the first commercials. Look, between those TV gigs, she had to make some money. So, look, she found a niche with the Thigh Master, and of course, it kind of took off and blew up. So, that kind of got her going there on the money side. Now, Three's Company, if you think of Three's Company, we'll get to the show as a whole down the line, but I think she was one of the third or fourth person that they auditioned for the role of Chrissy. They had 2 or 3 other actresses playing that Chrissy. Everyone else was good. John Ritter, God rest his soul, will probably dedicate something to him at some point. Joyce DeWitt and the rest of, and her, they just had magic. And unfortunately, greed kind of got the best of her during that 4th season. If you remember in 1980, I don't know if they had it on YouTube anymore, but if you get a chance, see the E-Trial story of Three's Company. It kind of shows you why she left the show and how it kind of transpired. It started with the Newsweek article, Newsweek cover. That was big for a television show. Three's Company, a lot of people thought, it kind of launched, Jiggle TV, if you will, however you feel about that. But that was definitely kind of the start of that. And look, she kind of, she might have been a little bit too greedy. I think she said in her autobiography, she kind of felt that her approach should have been better, because remember, there was a riot strike also that year, 1980. So that kind of started all that trend. So unfortunately, lawsuits and everything else, but they said all that. Now, we didn't hear from her for a few years on the TV side, but then Step by Step came along. And of course, after that, she started doing TV movies and such. So she kind of was able to kind of get out of that hole that she self-inflictedly, and she admitted this, dug herself in, but she came back and became one of a great American icon.
And don't forget, like you said, looking at all that stuff that was going on at the time with Three's Company, she did set the precedent for future actors and actresses as well, for equal pay, and them to demand more, or know their worth, and hold close to knowing their worth, because like you mentioned at the time, female actresses weren't getting paid as much, whether it was in motion pictures or on television, so their ability is just scraping to get by. Like you said, like I'm getting ready to say now, you didn't have it. There was no social media back then. There was no computers, no cell phones, or anything like that. So the only thing you had to make money off of was television commercials and doing extra movies and television specials that was available to you back then. Not too many things were available for actresses like her back then, unless I know she fit that typical ditzy blonde stereotype back then, but not too many actresses at that time were allowed to venture out and do other roles outside of their realm at that time. But she kind of set that precedent behind the scenes of knowing what you're worth, and just having pride within yourself and knowing your worth within the Hollywood circle. Yeah,
and I think she probably would have gotten a little bit more had there been social media, had people, but the fact that they were,
she was ahead of her time.
Yeah, the network kind of were able to kind of make her the bad guy and such, but it is what it is. I know that she and Joyce DeWitt kind of butt heads when it came to that. I think also to John Ritter too, but I'm glad that after Ritter's his untimely death, she and Joyce were able to kind of patch things up. So some years after that, a few years after, about a year after his death, they actually became good friends. And of course, she battled cancer for years. Just kept soldiering on. Kept pulling through. I know her husband Alan. They've been together for, I think, for like 40 some odd years. That she got married. I think they married like right after Three's Company premiered. And of course, they have 5 sons together, and of course, numerous grandkids. And look, she was definitely kind of like, well, how have you felt about her approach to that? I mean, look, like you said, I mean, they made actresses especially know their worth and whatnot. And look, she went against the grain. And look, however you feel about some of the approach that she uses. I mean, look, she stayed true to who she was, and look, she kind of followed on that.
Yes, her legacy and her approach to the Hollywood scene, both film and television, into her other entrepreneurial ventures and endeavors will never be forgotten. So our Old School TV Monday special tribute to the late Suzanne Summers. Lakina closes out.
All right, you follow by Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kiosco again, the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media on all social media platforms at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can catch our show and any other shows anytime you want on Roku TV. Of course, go to your app store and your Roku app, whatever device you got. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. What's up, cuz? I'm sure Jason will be in a good mood tonight with his Dolphins winning.
Yes.
Especially. So you can catch them out tonight at 6, and then a whole lot more. So you can catch our shows anytime, anywhere.
All right, I'm getting ready to bounce and stay warm in this cool fall weather we have around Chicagoland.
Yeah, and everywhere else too around the country. Well, except if you're out west in Los Angeles and Vegas. But of course, also to get the Wednesday, we'll see the speaking of Vegas, the Vegas Aces. Hopefully, they can finish up the WNBA Finals and win their second straight championship. That game will be game 3 will be at 6:00 on ESPN, I believe, on Wednesday. So check that out as well. All the rest of the sports, all the baseball and such. Make sure you guys check that out as you get for more football coming up this weekend. We'll have more. We'll talk more about that coming up on Friday. First, sit on the KSA more, like he said. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Doubles, holla!